Hey, yo, yo, yo.
Booming systems across Colorado.
To hear the crowd go.
We like the cars that go boom.
That means I'm chilling.
Lazy.
Trey gonna be that old guy in sandals and khakis with a button.
I've been saying this for how long now?
Like I can't step outside naked.
We jumped into the river.
What did you do? Did you run
I
along
jumped
the river
in.
bank?
I let autocorrect make me look stupid on Facebook every day. With Luxembourg. I can't do it.
It's Luxembourg.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. That's what they all say.
You trying to get me to do the hump and something.
Ah!
Oh, look at you, girl.
I said it's too early.
Sexual tracking app on it. And it found that
Who is actually using that? Welcome home, gentlemen from the 4th Infantry Division, 4th ID.
Yeah, I think he was trying to be funny, but it kind of escalated.
I think he was trying to hit her on a discount. Oh, my nigga.
We used to listen to FM, but they played the same old
I get the damn wake and bake. I get a burning wake and bake. I tell my job I'm gonna be late. I might not go back in the Tuesday. Wake and bake, wake and bake, wake and bake, too big and bake, wake 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 and bake. I take the dab and I blow it on in your face. Started the trend, I can see the hate. Put your rappers on my breakfast plate. I'm the king, I'm the king. 100, no brother do. I'm dabbing, I'm dabbing, I'm dabbing. Same color, Pikachu. I had a hell of a night. Now Sunday got the slow walk. Take one more dab to the brain. Going so much I'ma throw up. I might be a functional ass. Go to the job and get ass. My son told me to get back in the game, so I started back rap. Show these youngsters how to do it. Mix it down with this music. I just might show on the ropes. Jump on the plane and head on vacation.
Talking?
High as hell. Ship just landed. Aliens wait. I'm late for work.
Wake and bake.
Wake and bake. Wake and bake. Wake and bake.
I hear you.
Wake and bake. Wake and bake. Wake and bake.
So weird.
That song's just banging, that's all.
Oh, no, I'm an idiot. It's because I turned down the music and you're tied into the music.
Right.
You've been betrayed.
I was rocking out, so it don't matter.
I couldn't even hear the beat. I'm surprised you could, actually.
I was rocking on my side.
So that's weird, though, because when I turned it down on my side, that means I don't think it turned down on your side at all.
Right.
That's weird. I'm going to have to go back and check out the feed later. So anyway, it is, of course, Wake and Bake. That's right. You know, the Wake and Bakers. Of course, if you're waking and baking with us live on the show, welcome to the live show version of the show. If you're checking out the show later, don't forget you can also check us out you can check us out at bakeamericashow.com. That's right, bakeamericashow.com. We're live here on Wake and Bake America Radio for the live taping of the show. So if you're here with us live, welcome to the show. If you are listening to the show later on when it actually airs every weekday, no, I'm just playing, every Monday morning when we're in season, of course, that show drops at 4:20 a.m. Eastern, 2:20 a.m. Mountain Time. And so let's get right to it. Chris, I told you, I said I have a happy story for you before I get into extortion and body parts missing, right? So I have a story for you first, okay? Because I figured that would be better. So here's my feel-good story for the week. A group of students from Providence College went around the dorm that they live in raising money, okay? But for what is more important, my friend? And that is, is that the students from Providence College raised money. Okay? And I love this story. This is just phenomenal. It's one of those phenomenal stories that you just can't help but love. But anyway, so they raised money. Oh my, that's not supposed to be on in the studio. Please shut your phone off, producer. Thank you. Tell the producer, okay? I'm the star of this show, but I had to tell the producer That's awesome. Sorry, Chris, you're for the show too, but in that context, you know what I meant. Welcome, Paul G, back to the show. Huge fan of actually our sports show. I remember him from, of course, Blunt Football Talk. Great fan of the show as well. And especially on the live taping of the show. If you ever want to be part of the live taping of the show, just follow Wake the Bake America Radio on Podbean, like, you know, a little bean, podbean.com, and you'll get alerts when we have live shows, and then you can be part of the listening audience and you can partake in the show. Now, so back to Providence, Rhode Island. So anyway, so what did they raise money for? Because that's the more important part. Well, apparently there is a security guard that is the dorm security guard for this specific dorm at Providence, Rhode Island. And apparently he is from Nigeria, and it has been over a decade since he has been back to Nigeria to visit his family, which he must like his family, because it's been a decade since I've been out to visit my mom, and she lives 2 states over. So he must, right? It's just, he lives far away. He likes his family. He can't go visit him. So get this, you ready? So the students of, I believe it was Roosevelt dorm, were able to create a fundraiser and exceed their initial goal of $3,500 to send this security guard back to Nigeria to go visit his family. It is, if you guys haven't seen this story or heard this story, go check it out. Go look it up. It is absolutely a heartfelt, great love. Just, oh man, spreading the love, man. A bunch of college kids putting it down, putting it together, trying to help out so that they can, help get that security guard that is so helpful to them, so kind to them, so loving to them, and help get him off to Nigeria to go see his family. I just thought that was a really good feel-good story before we get into the nastiness and the weed of the world, right? So.
Oh yeah, that's phenomenal, man. That they took their own time to actually do something good for someone else. There's a lot of people in this world that have never done anything like that before.
Or even tried to raise a buck for anybody. Like,
right.
I think back to what Cammie and I did with the raising the school lunch money. I thought that was one of the coolest things we ever got to do. We even got a huge, like, $400 donation from a very wealthy donor, which doesn't seem like a lot. But when you're talking about the average income in the neighborhood you're getting this $400 donation from is, 60,000 a year for just a couple of people to come off a couple $400 so we could pay off some student loan or some student lunches for elementary school kids that were being denied food at school. Like, we just thought that was so insane that you could deny a child a meal. And so we raised money to go do it. I encourage you guys, think of ways you can help. Like, these college students, phenomenal. They saw a wonderful person who just doesn't quite cut the check to get back to Nigeria to visit his family. And what do? They go all in for him and, help him out. And I personally just think that is absolutely phenomenal. You know what I mean? Just phenomenal.
Yeah. If in today's society, if one person reached out just, for a couple hours a day or, a few bucks, you'd be surprised at how far that will go.
Right. Now, before we dive too far into the two topics you have for today and the two topics I have for today, we do have a caller. So I do want to take the caller if they're willing to speak. Let's go ahead and bring them into the show. Anna, we're going to go ahead and bring you in since you called in this morning. Just wanted to see what you wanted to say. We just want to say hi. Hi, Anna Marie. Welcome to the show. I don't think they know they're on the show right now. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I can't lie to you. I'm not sure, but we'll follow you. Welcome to the show, Anna Marie. We were absolutely more than willing to bring you in and hear what you had to say. Let's do this, though. We've got to get into this show because, of course, we are a talk show and we have time and we must talk. Again, if you want to join the show, just call in. We'll get an alert that says you called in and we'll bring you right into the show. Anna, thanks for checking in with the show. I don't know if we had an audio issue or something. We couldn't hear you. I could hear like maybe kids in the background, it sounded maybe like, or something in the background and a little thumbing around like maybe you were trying to talk, but I just didn't hear anything. So Anna, thank you and welcome to the show, Anna Marie. Thanks for calling in. Let's get right over here to Chris. Anybody else, if you want to call into the show, you know what to do. Join us on Podbean and you can call directly into the show from the app. This, what you don't know is we're a self-funded radio show. So this actually saves us money by how do you say? This saves us money by not having to pay for like a phone line. You know what I mean? Because
Right. Who's
provides
got a
us,
landline anymore?
dude, seriously. And provides us basically with a free call-in phone line for you. You know what I mean? And so we're like, use that, baby, use that. uh,
Right.
Paul says maybe it was a troll. Paul, you could be right. Somebody could just be trolling us. Did not expect us to pop them in here out of nowhere. I'll do that.
Right.
If you accidentally hit that call-in button and you show up in the call-in log, I'm bringing you in. We're talking, baby. Paul G knows the show, though. Paul knows we're going to get to the bottom of you because, well, that's what dicks do. All right, I just want to say, anyway, guys, if you didn't get that joke, you're not dirty enough for the show. I'm just going to point that out. So welcome to everybody who is live. If you want to be part of the show, the discussion that we're having, please feel free to chime in. Just hit the call-in button right here on Podbean for the live show. Now let's do this though, Christopher. Let's go. I want to get ahead. I want to do a pre-sale to our listeners. So I want to know what your topics are. My topics are, of course, my main topic of the day, and this is my main discussion point of the day, is a woman accused Dak Prescott, the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback, of sexual assault, but only after he sued her for an extortion claim earlier this week. My other story is, of course, 4 people were charged in concealing a corpse, evidence tampering, and that's all I'm willing. That's the only body of this story I'm willing to discuss. Yeah. Bad joke. All right, so let's do that. And everybody's like, boo!
Nah.
For myself, for me. I think that I am thoroughly impressed with what you'll have because I just know you. Go ahead. What are your 2 topic headlines?
Right. Well, my first little bit is some news update on the reform of cannabis scheduling in the United States.
Ooh, I'm excited because I like this bong, baby.
And we got a little health and science, I guess you would say, for the ladies.
Well, you had me at health and science, and then you lost me at ladies because I'm just not a lady. I mean, I can act like a lady. Believe me, I'm a classy
But you
bitch.
got a lady, though.
And I have a lady, but I'm a classy bitch. That's all I got. So let's get in here. Let's go to. I'm gonna save Dak for last because I think that that's a very in-depth discussion point between accusations and extortion, right? So I'm going to divert to your first story. Then we'll do the 4 charges with concealing the bodies. Let the bodies hit the flow is what I'm calling. And then, of course, then we'll go to your other cannabis story, and then we'll, of course, divert and close the show on Dak Prescott and the discussion of when they say you have to believe, quote unquote, have to believe survivors, but then you hear of $100 million extortion. And I'm going to get into more later because I want to get your feelings up about it. I want you to get a little up in arms about it. Don't forget to throw us a little heart on your little phone or your little icon thing that you listen to us on. Don't forget to throw a little love there. Thanks, Paul G, for showing a little love there. Like I said, Paul G is one of our greatest sports fans listeners for Blood Football Talk. But my man can get in, and my man can get in on this on the topic on what we call the tapaquitos over here, hombre. Let's go. So, what do you got first, Chris? Talk to me.
All right. We're going to talk about the VP, Kamala Harris, talking to a group of reformed prisoners that were released from their cannabis charges, or we'll say pardon, as they would call it. And she did basically a roundtable meeting with them on some of the stark issues that come with the new cannabis reform laws and why other states aren't getting behind it. They also talk a lot about more push on the DEA to get this drug rescheduled. It is on the level of heroin, according to them. You know, how can a drug that has changed several states' financial issues on that level of danger, you know what I mean? It's more dangerous than fentanyl, they're trying to say.
Well, I mean, yes, based on, I mean, if we look at fentanyl, which I believe is a Schedule 2 drug, not a Schedule 3 drug, because anything that has medical or medicinal value cannot be maxed out as a Scheduled 1. It would be maximum would be you're looking at like oxycontin is a good example of this. Fentanyl is a good example of this. Those are controlled 2 substances, which are drugs that are or do have a medicinal value but are highly regulated.
Right, and it's totally crazy because I mean, if they brought cannabis down even to a
I just want
level,
that's what Chris is trying to tell y'all. The world is saying weed's worse than that. Yes, it's laughable, folks. It's laughable. Please laugh it up. It's as fucking dumb as you sound. Wait, what? Did I say that out loud? That was not supposed to come out. All right, Chris, continue on, please, because this is the stupidity that we deal with on the regular when it comes to the cannabis world and industry. Quite frankly, it's this level of stupidity.
oh yeah, because I mean, if they could bring cannabis down to a Schedule 2 where it could actually start to be researched by U.S. scientists, then we could have scientific information that would back a just cause to bring cannabis off that scheduling chart.
Well, and you have to even look at what I would refer to as somewhat pseudoscience or just, sort of word of mouth science, right? And that's that even the pseudoscience, which is not technically scientific, and even the hearsay science, which is technically not scientific, but profoundly rejects the Schedule 1, and not only profoundly rejects it, but constitutes a extreme reason for studying cannabis and for bringing cannabis to a level of higher study. Because for you folks that don't understand how detrimental a Schedule 1 is to anything, a Schedule 1 means that it has no value to human consumption. It has no medicinal, no human value, basically, right? This is where you have things like, I mean, even amphetamine is not. I don't believe methamphetamine is even a Scheduled 1 drug. I believe, I mean, it is if you have like street level crystal meth, but
Right.
amphetamine itself, amphetamines in themselves are, I believe, Schedule 2. It might. I don't think it's 3. It might be 3, but I believe it's 2.
I think it's 2.
So
You know, what a lot of people need to realize, though, is I mean, cannabis can be used for more than just medicinal use. The byproducts are used for hundreds of different things.
right, and what I mean by word of mouth science is, Chris told me, "Hey Trey, if you smoke pot, it'll help your back." That didn't happen. We were both using medical marijuana before we met each other. But I'm just hypothetically. Chris says, "Hey Trey, pot will help your back," and I smoke pot, and holy shizzles, my back is helped. Right? That is a questionable science because it worked, but it wasn't in a controlled clinical environment. So I would just like to have the controlled clinical environment that we all deserve. I would like the controlled clinical environment that we all have the right to. You know what I mean? I just feel like that's critical. I feel like that's important to the cause of really tearing down the walls that going all the way back to even really before the Nixon administration, but really the Nixon administration, which was sort of the precursor to the war on drugs that would take place through the 80s and 90s and lock a lot of people up that were, smoking pot and doing other harder drugs, but I mean, let's be honest. Have we really tackled the drug dealer problem?
No.
Where one drug dealer to me is a lot like a cockroach infestation. I hate to say it that way, but it kind of is. And what I mean by that is this unlawful drug dealer goes down in a bus, and I guarantee you within weeks, if it even takes that long, there will be somebody there to replace them. Likely
Mhm.
whoever the supplier was or the person that was right under them who took their spot.
Shit.
So,
Maybe even within hours.
now, I want to be clear. I am not an advocate for all legal drugs. I want to make that very clear. There
Yeah.
are some drugs that create problems that are so profound that we have 11 children in our family from one person who does not take care of any one of their kids because they just spend every day doing hard drugs, right? And committing the crimes or the acts that allow that, right? And so it's upsetting, it's unsettling, and it is the honest truth, which is why I like to discuss it because, and if anybody's wondering, just for context, it's a sister-in-law. Um, but unfortunately, I think that the problem is that you have certain drugs that are lumped in with drugs that really do need to be heavily regulated. They seem to be a problem. I'm very interested to see like where like places like Portugal where it's not a crime to do drugs.
You,
It's just a crime to sell.
any
I don't even think it's a crime to possess them. I think it's just a crime to be the dealer, right? They've really done the job that is the problem within the problem, right? Like we're not saying the addict's going to go to jail. We're trying to curb the pipeline that they get it from.
I also want to point out that Kentucky Governor Andy Basher and Fat Joe were also at this round table discussing how they have to have a stronger push against the DEA.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you have to understand that that's what it really comes down to is that it's time to come off it. You know, like we hit these points in history, right? Where it is literally time to come off it. It's time to just get off your high horse, whatever the case may be. It's definitely time to come off it. And like I said, I just think we finally start hitting these times in history where you just don't really have the right anymore to like tell us that that like for instance, you don't have the right to tell me that medical marijuana doesn't work. I'm really tired of your opioid uncle getting to decide because and this is what it is it's a generational thing.
Oh
It's the
yeah,
generation that just believes that pharmaceuticals work still to this day.
and well, see, here's the thing: some pills work for some people,
Right.
just like some cannabis works for some people.
And
It's
sometimes
no,
work for a little while and then they don't really do their job anymore. That's kind of what happened to me with the medication where it worked phenomenally for about the first year. And then um, after the first year, I really just felt like it made things kind of worse.
right, because now you're searching for another way to get rid of whatever ailment you're going through. With cannabis, at least all you have to do is decide to change what strain you're using,
Indeed. And
and
I
it's
think,
organic.
well, and I do think that medication also helps you. I think, like I said, at that time, some people, like for instance, you're going through a rough time. Maybe you need something to help with the anxiety, as an example, right? Because life's hard and life's real. And let's be honest. I mean, to a point, life kind of sucks some days, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So for a while there, you're going through a rough one, and you need a little help, right? Well, then after you go through that rough one, all of a sudden, now everything's all right again. So, like a year later, whatever, like 2 years later. So then why are we still on the medication? You didn't need it before that happened. Why are you on it after that happened? Medication should be a middle to short term solution to a problem. But I think the long term solutions don't really always entail pills. And then you have to look at like each person individually, like literally individually. I got a sister,
Yes.
bro, she's bipolar as shit. If she don't take she's not fucking cool. Let me just tell you the truth, right? And then you to somebody like me who's very ADHD. So a anxiety medication really helped out for a little while with some extreme anxiety that was like literally daily crippling anxiety. And then I stopped taking it, and for a while the anxiety actually started getting worse. And then I stopped taking it and everything kind of got better. And I was like, well, maybe it was just doing the job then, but it's not now. I'm just not going to take it anymore. And it's funny that we're having this discussion because I have a checkup on Monday with the doctor. I'm just hoping that I got my last oil check, if you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
6 months ago, that I don't need another one this go around.
Right.
I don't like getting dipsticked at the doctor, but it's, I mean, fellas, let's be honest, you don't want prostate cancer either. And if you do catch it early enough, you get to live. um, the bulk majority of the time, as with most cancers, by the way. Well, so fellas, get your screenings, man. Seriously, ladies, get your screenings seriously, because at the end of the day, that it may save your life. That's on some earnest stuff right there, man. So
But
let's.
yeah,
Oh,
I
sorry. Go
mean,
ahead.
ultimately, just like we push to get legalization in our states, we're going to have to force ourselves to do a push against the federal government to get past this hill we're trying to get over.
Right. So before we switch to the next subject, which is my body's hitting the flow, we do have a caller. I can't really. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think I put the writing too small. We're just gonna go with caller. We're just gonna call them caller. We have a caller though, so should they choose to accept their invite, they may come into the show and talk to us. But they did request a call in. So in the meantime, we do need to move on, as the producers say. Oh, there it is. Yep, I knew it was coming any second. Let's go to the bodies hitting the floor. According to the Associated Press, which is always a proud and honorable writer of sports for over 20 years now, I'm very, very appreciative of the AP because they have a duty to really not opinionate their news and just give you the facts right, which I like. Unless it's an opinion section, which I like because that's how it should be. 4 people were charged Wednesday, apparently with concealing a human corpse and tampering with evidence in a connection with the discovery of body parts on Long Island, New York, or in Long Island, New York. Okay. The 4 suspects have not been charged with killing the victims, who are identified as a 53-year-old man and a 59-year-old woman. All 4 defendants pleaded not guilty to hindering a prosecution, tampering with physical evidence, and concealing a human corpse, were released without bail. Okay, hold on.
So,
just for the
were
record,
they med students that took the corpses from class?
I don't know, but well, they can't be med students because we got a 40-year-old, a 38-year-old, a 44-year-old, and a 33-year-old. Who police say are all homeless. That's who was arrested and let go. According to police, a girl walked to school last week on Thursday and found a severed arm on the side of the road near Southlands Pond in Babylon, which is about 25 miles east of New York City, by the way, if anybody cares for context. Police later discovered the leg and more body parts and then the people and so on and so forth. So, yeah. So this story, what's weird to me is that all 4 defendants were arrested, right? Now, are you guys ready for this?
Were there bite marks?
No, just listen to the next sentence from the AP press because I want to quote this verbatim. The 4 defendants were arrested after police executed a search warrant at the Amityville home that Wallace, Mackey, and Brown shared. The police executed a search warrant at the Amityville home. Yeah, that's not creepy. No. What the fuck is up with that town? What is up with Amityville?
Amityville Horror Show?
Hey, yeah, bodies hitting the flow, people disappearing. Like, yo, New York, get your shit together. What's going on? And first and foremost, listen, I love New York. Both of my parents are from New York. I love New York. It's a great state. Fun to go to. But I got to ask, like, I get it. So jails are overcrowded in New York, right? Like, probably worse than anywhere. Let's be honest, okay? But I genuinely have to ask, like, what in the hell? God damn it, Bobby! Like, what? Like, how do you get found with severed body parts and so on and so forth? And there's got to be a charge that can keep you held at least with bail. So, New York, I'm literally one of your favorite. What do you call it? Like extended sons. There we go. Because technically, my parents are from New York, but neither of them really. Like my dad didn't grow up in Brooklyn; he grew up in Puerto Rico. You know what I mean? But he spent his teenage years in Brooklyn. But anyway, so before he went into the military, you know. But anyway, and that's why we're from all out west. I'm like
before you bounce all over the place.
Yeah, before he bounced all over the globe, people want to wear a Frankfurt jersey and a Welsh one and a Spain one. Anyway, or should I say kit? If we're talking soccer here. But anyway, I just love that you can be caught with dude. I live in a state you cannot be caught with a bunch of body parts and just leave. Like,
right.
Like, we're just going to chat on an OR bond. You're homeless. You can't afford to run. Like, bitch,
Yeah.
what? Like, I'm stuck on that, bro.
They call those PRs here.
Yeah, they call them ORs here. Own reconnaissance bond is what. I did crime news. Right, I was a crime news cover too. So you learn a lot about going to jail, and then maybe I may have made one or two poor choices in life. I'm a grandpa now, so
And had a couple visits.
get up, fool! Hey, fool! Don't at me like that. That's not cool, man.
Shit, I've been there too, so don't feel bad.
I just feel like the producers really ousted me there. Like they threw down some check marks and some ding-a-ling noises, and that's just not cool, bro. Not cool.
They know who you are.
You. I always tell people, if you can avoid the county pokey, you've done well for yourself. It's actually really easy to get in trouble and go to the county, even if it's just for like a few hours to be booked. It's just easy to get in trouble in every state in America. It's one of the things I'm not really a big fan of.
Yeah, open intox. You go until you're sober the next morning.
Right. So, I did want to say I'm thoroughly impressed with I'm just lost, man. I don't know what is the right thing to say per se, because I'm like, well, sure, yeah, cool, man, that's crazy, but how the fuck did you get out on an OR bond, man? Like, seriously, like
I'm body part.
Wait, what?
Well, and then where are they being let out to? Do they have an address?
Right, like that's another thing here too. Like, now listen, I'm gonna tell you right now that I'm not a fan of this process. Okay, just want to say that before I talk about it. But there are places that you cannot get out unless you have like an address and a home and a place they can locate you at.
Right.
But I also feel like that does target it. You have to look at laws, guys. That disproportionately targets an individual who may be homeless. And while you may be homeless, and if you can't provide an address, it shouldn't mean that you should have to sit in jail just because of that. I'm a big preponderant of we have to overhaul the legal system and start holding heinous crimes more accountable. But we can't just be like cool with locking everybody up, though. You know what I mean? Like, and keeping people who just, like, for instance, setting bail for poor people that's so high that they'll never be able to make bail.
They do that anyways.
Meanwhile, if you're a doctor who murdered somebody, you can get out tomorrow because you just have money. I don't think the cash bail system should be so easy that you walk out on an OR bond with body parts. Like, dude, can I say that one more time? Like, I just don't feel like it should ever be that damn easy. God damn it.
Right. That alone should have kept them in jail.
Right. But I got to at least digress the situation and say, but at the same time, it's still concerning that, for instance, I wouldn't want to see somebody like who got a petty theft charge and has to post like $50 bail and they got to stay in jail for like months and months of court hearings because they couldn't afford a fucking $50 petty theft bond, right? As an example. That's the things that concern me when it comes to like things like the legal system, of course. You know what I mean? I digress. It is break time though, my brother, so we do need to go to break. I'm also super perturbed by by something. I'll tell you about it later. It has nothing to do with the show. It's a technical difficulty that's under the great goodness of my skin. But anyway, and it's not impacting the show, which means it's just impacting me, so I won't cry about it to somebody, and you have to be that somebody. So anyway, he's like, right on. I'll let you whine to me. No, I can't today. I can't cry. I can't call you and cry today. I have to get prepared to go to a soccer outing with one of I met this guy. I said, anybody want to meet me in person? Just go to this just go to this lake. It's a small little pond. Yeah. If you really want to meet me in person and, head to this pond or whatever. Right. And, one of the coolest things was that, he was one of like a handful of people that showed up and I met. And I ended up becoming so good of friends with him that I get taken out to his dad's private lake to go fish. And so,
right on.
we hook each other up, and like I'm taking him to, I have season tickets to our largest professional sports franchise here in town. And I'm taking him to a game today, which is the season opener. And I always say, if you get to go to the season opener with Trey, there's two things you can count on. You're going to get free beer out of me, and there's usually something given away at the gates, and we will be there early enough to get it. So it's a fun day. Early game, 6 p.m. start time, so it's a fun game day. So I'm really excited about that, actually. But and I can't wait to take you if you come out this summer, bro. We'll have to make sure you come on a weekend when there's a game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, if somebody in town has to get kicked to the curb for you, I'm all for it. You know that.
Oh yeah.
Let's do this though. We do got to get to break. When we get back, though, we're going to be talking about this accusation against Dak Prescott and the extortion lawsuit behind it, and why I'm actually pulling out a yellow towel right now in the studio because we have one for football. And I'm going, hey, because there's one in here from the football show. There's a yellow flag.
We have belts and trophies.
Oh yeah, I got the belt right here. I'm the champion. I still got to make my wrestler video where I'm going to say some stuff.
You would.
More questions about your championship podcast, Pete. But
I'm coming for your belt.
I'm like, there's no question about the 3-time champion.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
Oh yeah, I gotta do my fucking old school 90s wrestler video for him. He stole my belt, and I was like, you might think you're tough, but I'm
some hacksaw Jim's Duggins.
Oh, it was so fun, man. All right, let's go to break. When we get back, we got, of course, this Dak Prescott story. But first, we got one more news headline from Chris. We need to get to that too. Don't go anywhere. Here's a short set of announcements from our sponsors. Insight into some of the other shows here at the station. Do not forget that the opinions, views, and things that are expressed by the hosts of this show, the guests of this show, and or the listeners of this show are not the views and are not the opinions of the owners of this station and or the station itself as an entity. We host people and allow them to have their opinions and views here at Wake and Bake America Radio, but at the same time, we are not responsible for what they say. If you have a problem with something someone said, please send your email to info@bakeamericashow.com, and we will get it sent to the show host that you have a problem with, and then they'll probably make fun of you on their next show. I'm just being honest, that's what happens around here. But I'm just saying, you have the opportunity to bitch and moan, but when you do, they're going to make fun of you. We'll be back after the break.
You won't be texting and driving with us up in your ride.
Can I talk to you, son?
Sure, Dad.
Hey, what's this? Your mom found this in your closet.
No, it's not mine. One of the guys.
Where did you get it? Where'd you learn to do this stuff?
It's a podcast, all right? Learn it from Control Alt Throw Against Wall.
Control Alt Throw Against Wall. We may teach you stuff, but it won't be good.
All right, it's time to have that talk. Yeah, I'm talking to you, homeowner. Don't you try to run away, townhome renter and apartment renter. Look, every time we move, they charge us a ridiculous amount of money. Every time you need something remodeled, those people charge you a ridiculous amount of money. So this time, when I moved, I got my whole deposit back. Now, I can't promise you the same results, but what I can tell you is I went through Quality Peak Customs. That's right. That's handyman and remodeling. And at Quality Peak Customs, they're going to take care of you the best they can to help you get the best job you can. So whether it's moving out and needing your apartment brushed up for the handover, your townhome, you want to rent that out, you need it fixed up for the big remodel, hey, that house. When's the last time you've done something? Well, when you do it, why don't you call Quality Peak Customs at 719-964-6871. That's 719-964-6871. You can also email Quality Peak Customs at qualitypeak.customs@gmail.com for your free quote today. You can check out Quality Peak Customs on Facebook as well. Let's go with Quality Peak Customs for your next move, your next remodel, or the next time you need a helping hand around your home. Look, everybody loves creativity, good food, and hard work. That's why it's so easy to love Sam's Creations. Sam's Creation is award-winning cannabis food creations. Find Sam's Creations on Facebook and Instagram with Sam's with a Z, Creations with a Z. Or place your order today at 719-283-1701.
It's time for Blunt Football Talk.
In trouble, gets away. Mahomes racing with the bad ankle and all inside the 20.
My concern is that Kyler doesn't come back until late in the year. And so
Parsons on the move, and Micah Parsons is in.
Hey, tell me you didn't grow up in the projects without telling me.
I grew up with adjacent. Third and long. It's Von Miller putting his stamp on this one.
Good for you. I hope it fucks your life up. I hope you fail. I hope you fall flat on your face. I'm like, these are my friends. This is us.
Good ball comes out of his hand toward the end zone. Picks up.
Feels bad for Deshaun Watson coming back and having terrible performance.
J.K. Dobbins' hand.
And the Kansas City Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
This is Blunt Football Talk. That's pro football done.
Unprofessional.
This is your station.
I like this right here.
The People's Station. Monuments, Falcon, and Cannabis.
Here comes the heat, y'all.
All right. It's good to be in California. We out here. Weed's almost legal out here. Yeah, it's not almost legal where I'm from. I'm from Georgia. The police pulled me over. He found a little bit of weed, and he looked at me and asked me, "Where did you get this from?" I was like, "You don't know? That's your job. You have a car with lights, a computer, guns, tasers, a dog. I just moved here and I found it. Do your job. Do your job, officer. The rest of us have to work. Do your job." But police don't think about what's going on in people's lives. They pull you over, they start yelling at you immediately. I can't think when I'm being yelled at. You come to my window, roll the window down right now. Okay, all right, well. Are the child locks on? I'm not sure if... You know what? This one don't work. You have to come around here. Just stop yelling. Just come around here. I'm not going to jail for weed. I'm not. No. I'll eat it. I'll eat it. And if I got more than I can think I can eat, I keep a little applesauce in the car. And I'll mix it together like old people take their medicine and... Plus, you look a lot less threatening when the police pull you over, you eating something with a spoon. I don't know, you can't, it's weird, it's weird. You can't, I don't believe in all the stuff the police do. Drug dogs, I don't think that's a real thing. I don't think there's dogs out there that can detect different types of drugs. Because he pulled me over and he brought the dog and he tapped on the trunk and the dog jumped up there. And he was like, "The dog's telling me that it's drugs in the car." I was like, "What?" So I tapped on the trunk, the dog jumped back up there and I was like, "Well, he's telling me, no, it's not."
Hey, what's going on? Mr. Hungry Hustling, American Dream Afro Man. Wake and bake, America. Yeah, you're chilling with Mr. MistaTre.
That's MistaTre, not Ashtray.
You're listening to MistaTre, and you know why. Yeah. Yeah.
Trey gonna be that old guy in sandals and khakis with a button.
I've been saying this for how long now?
I can't step outside naked.
We jumped into the river.
What did you do? Did you run
I
along
jumped
the
in.
river
I let autocorrect make me look stupid on Facebook every day. With Luxembourg. I can't do it.
It's Luxembourg.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. That's what they all say.
You trying to get me to do the hump and something.
Ah!
Oh, look at you, girl.
I said it's too early.
Sexual tracking app on it. And it found that...
Yeah, he's actually using that. Welcome home, gentlemen from the 4th Infantry Division, 4th ID.
Yeah, I think he was trying to be funny, but it kind of escalated.
I think he was trying to hit her on a discount. Oh! Bonded.
We used to listen to FM, but they play the same old
What's up, everybody? This is Wake and Bake America. That's right here on Wake and Bake America Radio. And get some. So, during the break, I did not get my coffee made. Just want to point that out. But I think I figured out the technical difficulty. So, I think the issue is that my phone is smarter than I need it to be right now. Well, it kept putting my app to sleep. I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah.
It's driving me nuts. And what I discovered was that the little bastard, phone of mine, put one of my apps into like snoozy mode or whatever, or like battery saver mode.
At least it wasn't as bad as Sunday when we tried to tape and all the churches got in our way.
That's not what happened, though. See, we just wanted to tell that story. Turned out it was me. Well, oh no, actually, technically the church did get in the way, because remember it was like we said. What did I say? I said from death to biblical something. It was like from death to biblical something, and the whole algorithm freaked the fuck out. It was like, you can't broadcast it. And then we figured out that it was because I put death and Bible in the same sentence, which makes absolutely no sense, by the way.
Yeah,
But
right.
hey, way to go, algorithm, because you damn near ruined our show and put us behind this season by a week. But the end of the season is at the end of this month, so this month. And then don't forget, though, after for all of our Daily Planet listeners out there, just kidding, but wouldn't that be cool? Last episode of season 8 is on the 30th. We'll be taping it on the 30th. It'll air April 1st. And then we're actually not back until the morning of April 20th. We launch season 10. So I just wanted to bring that up because I want all our wonderful and delectable listeners and fans of the show to know that we're going to be gone for a few weeks, but we're not gone forever. And I will tell you that it's not a bit ironic. This year just happens to line up this way that Football Talk returns next weekend. And ironically enough, right when we go on break, so you'll have some sports talk here, folks, for sure. Bo show, Bo shizzle my nizzle. Hey. So let's get into it. What's your next story, bud?
All right, let's talk about some actual scientific research. We're going to talk about FOD. And if you're not familiar with FOD,
Nick, that's what that means to me.
Female orgasmic disorder.
Oh, yeah, I was way off. Although I did have a dick in there. Like down.
All right, there's been a couple scientists doing some research recently. Let's see. Published in the Journal of Sexual Medical Production of Hormonal Observations,
also known
from
Sutra.
Susan Moger and a client sexiologist, and Dr. Jordan Torshi, associate of the Cannabidiol Scientific Research Institute, have done a study on cannabis and its influences in female orgasms.
Oh.
Yeah, they did a research study with 387 participants.
You all right there? Oh, or did you just stop? Did we lose you, Chris? Is Chris malfunctioning? Hello? Christopher? Chris? I see his bubble, but I do not see his bubble lit up in green. He's not talking, is all. But that's weird. Okay, so I think that's fascinating. I think that anytime we can do some research, especially I know there's a lot of the female orgasm disorder. I probably just screwed that up. But the female orgasmic disorder, or I think that people have to understand that cannabis is becoming, quite frankly, a extremely fascinating and very productive nonetheless and helpful nonetheless. Yeah, Chris, you're still muted or silenced or something. Try leaving and coming back. Anyway, sorry, we are having some technical difficulties with Chris Watkins. He's, of course, the co-host of this show live from Lansing, Michigan, while I'm in Colorado. So we are absolutely not in the same studio producing. So sometimes you can have a little technical difficulties when you're literally doing an East Coast to a Rocky Mountain broadcast here, folks. We'll get Chris back in here. I hear you. I also hear an echo. Oh, no.
Am I back?
Yeah. Oh, I don't hear an echo anymore. Okay. I was seriously worried, man. Anyway, welcome back. So anyway, Chris, like I was telling the audience, though, that because of cannabis, it has been profoundly and somewhat fundamentally life-altering for some women who have maybe found it a little harder to, shall we say, get off, or have the good old, God, I wish you would have told me this was the topic. I would have probably had someone come in who she is an expert on experimental cannabis and fun. But anyway, what I will tell you, ladies, is that what we have found is that cannabis, by way of smoking, by way of edibles, by way of even topical rubs, there's even like CBD infused and THC infused lubricants.
Yes.
For sex that help kind of, there's women who suffer from extreme pain during sex. For those women, I feel very sorry for them. I'm like, you know how fucking fun fucking is? Let me tell you. So if it's not fun for you, oh dear God, I feel horrible for you. Like I really do. Like, you don't find it fun, I feel sad.
They found that 72.8% of the participants had problems with orgasm frequency. They found that 67% of the participants had an improved state of satisfaction when using a cannabis-infused product. 71% felt more at ease with how easier it was for them to accomplish orgasm than it had ever been.
Wow, yeah, and I see that a lot. Like I and even women who, now listen, women who don't struggle, you're not left out in this. I promise you. Women who don't struggle that get their good old I just want you to know that there is absolutely an avenue for you as well, because I know women who do not have any problems here, right? And I find that they still partake because it increases the satisfaction as well. And so this is why I said I wish you had told me this. I'd have brought in a sex worker. That's what I call these people who use these things and advise on them. Experts. Anyway.
Yeah, I just come across this little story and I started diving into it. I thought, we've touched on stuff like this before, and you're right. It doesn't leave out even the average female that has a regular orgasm when they have intercourse. This will enhance it and maybe even make it more pleasurable for them.
Indeed. And now, my friend. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In the study, they also found that 24% of the women had mental health issues. 52% had PTSD issues. 29% had depression issues, 13% had anxiety problems, and 23% had some sort of sexual abuse issue in their life.
Which then that gets into mental blockers, which brings to a point that I have, which is when I did an anecdotal study, which is essentially we asked questions of listeners and of ourselves. And what we find is that cannabis allows the active mind to relax and get into the mood and sort of forget about stuff for a minute and really enjoy that, sexual encounter at that moment. And from women to both women and men, like sometimes, like I tell people, sometimes you don't have ED because you can't bust a nut on it. I promise you, that's not your problem. But what you may really suffer from, all jokes aside, is you may be so wound up in your mind that your Dickie can't just do what it's supposed to do. And women have the same problem. I think that we have found something. So this is, listen, I'm going to tell you the truth. This is why there's so many anti-cannabis people out there, because they cannot stand that this thing, while it does not check every box on the planet, sorry folks, it's not a miracle drug. While it doesn't check every box on the planet, it checks so many different boxes across so many spectrums of medical care, from mental to physical, and it's one drug. And I think Big Pharma down to the church itself, as an example, the holy rollers, if you would, are petrified of anything that makes you feel good and actually works. Now, I'll never understand that, don't get me wrong, but that's what I think is the diagnostic.
But then we also have to think about how less the side effects are from trying a cannabis product compared to pharmaceuticals.
Right. And I think that, like the results, like I've seen people, like I always think of, honestly, guys, check out Newbie and the Doobie. They are a couple who does a show here. Check out some of their old episodes. He's on tour right now doing a comedy tour, but they should be back this spring sometime after 420 and all their events. They launch after all that. We launch before all that. Or during all that, actually, which is sometimes more hectic and worse. So let me just cry now. It can get a little crazy during that week, and I can get a little testy, like your balls. Anyway, so at the end of this conversation, I think that anyone who listens to this live now or later, when the show airs and or so forth, I think will understand that one of the most profound things about cannabis is that it's helping people relax, sort of forget mental blockers that they don't even know they have. Like you talked about, like sexual abuse, that's a mental blocker for people sometimes. And we see, honestly, we see that more in women than men, but not always. I don't want to discredit anybody's pain or tragedy. As a child victim myself, I do not want to ever discredit anybody's tragedy. What I'm saying is that we see the like that issue of not being able to enjoy sex. We see it a lot in women, right? And then we see it in a smaller percentage, but yes, in men. We see it in straight men, gay men. We see it in straight women, gay women. We see it across the board.
Every human.
Yeah. I find it fascinating as someone who thoroughly enjoys sex, right? I find it fascinating when people don't. I do. I find you to be absolutely fascinating. It's like I want to open your brain and see what went wrong where, because enjoying intimacy and sexual relations is a human, and it goes into our animal instincts as the sexual side of it, right? The physical sexual side of it. And then on the mental side of it, it actually speaks to the fact that we are a more formidable species on the planet, in the sense that not only do we have sex for the physical sexual reasons of it and the primal reasons of as breeders would say, breeding. And I mean, I was a breeder, but now I'm a grandpa, so I don't have to breed anymore. Anyway,
the ones you give back are always the best.
I just find it so profound. I've always, like I said, I just want to open someone's brain that doesn't personally enjoy intimacy and just find out like what's behind that, right? I don't know why I don't know why I want to open their brain, but I do. and so at the end of wow, there are really trolls. Somebody just came in, threw up a bunch of middle fingers, gave us some hearts though, and then left.
Right on.
Like, that's the greatest thing ever. I'll take it. Who knows? It could just be somebody who knows us and hates us. And I'm okay with that, actually.
Yep.
I'm totally okay with that. So anyway.
You love debate.
Yeah. So as we move forward, I guess there's no comfortable transition from one topic to the next here. Well, because we're going from something like sex is great. Now we're going to talk about something that's fucked up, and it does involve something, sexually or sex related, however you want to word that. And so, yeah, it gets a little uncomfortable. So let's transition into our final story of the day. And by the way, I just want to, can I give you a pat on the back? Like, great stories today, bro.
Thanks, man.
I'm not gonna lie, when you said Kamala Harris, I didn't know where you were going in the next thing, and I was like, this bitch told me nothing politics. I really was. I got salty. I'm not even lying to you. I got salty. But then when you said the next sentence, I was like, oh, okay, it's not politics.
I kind of, yeah. What I had an update. I had to bring it, and it was kind of politicky, but not really.
Well, it's just somebody trying to do justice reform stuff, and I'm all for that part of it, you know.
Right.
But like I said, when you first said, it, I was like, "This bitch really said no politics." I was thinking like, and then you said the next sentence. I was like, "Okay, calm your tits, homie. Your boobies, old man. It'll be all right there, cowboy. Settle down."
I ride the line sometimes, but so do you.
I'm letting that cowboy cactus come out in me. You know what I mean? Like, calm your fucking cacti titties, boy. You be all right.
All right.
Oh shit. Like, I be dead sometimes though, bro. I just be like, what the hell? So anyway, sadly, we do have to get to a additional subject, and this one's not a comfortable subject. So listen, I'm just gonna say this because okay, that's weird. So whoever that was came in. You ready for this? This is weird. You ready?
I heard the beep beep.
No, whoever that was came in, put up a bunch of middle fingers in the chat, right? Then they deleted their account because now it just says user. It's gone.
Oh, it still says their name on my side, but no hearts.
That's so weird.
Because did it used to say the old man P?
Something. Old Man Podcast, yeah. And now it just says user on my side. Dude, I'm telling you. So Paul G, just for anybody who catches this later or listens, he is like a very Podbean smart person. We use this to broadcast, but he's like a down true to the trill fan of shows. So he uses this all the time. And he told me that, like he said in this post here, in the thread here, he said trolls would be popping in. So it's a troll. It happens. It is what it is. We have to move on though to our next subject. Ready?
Ready.
So, a woman accused Dak Prescott of sexual assault. This after the Cowboys quarterbacks and his legal team filed a extortion claim in court earlier that week. The facts, as we know them today, are this. A woman is accusing Dak Prescott of sexual assault and filed a report with the police on Wednesday of this last week, okay? On Monday, because timelines fucking matter, people, in an investigation. If there's one thing you learn in law school or journalism school, is that the timeline will tell you everything you need to know. Because sometimes what happened isn't as profound as when what happened and the order with whence it happened in. That is what makes something profound. That is why our dear ex-former president is in so much trouble, because it's not what you did, it's the order you did it in. And then the attempt to cover it up. I promise people, that's what you'll get in trouble for more than anything. You can go back to Nixon and look at it. Honestly, I'll show you a side where the defendant won because of a potential type of cover-up. I do believe that the police tried to plant evidence to finger O.J. Simpson, but I also think that he may have done it. But the fact that they kind of got caught up trying to plant evidence literally is why he was exonerated. They had it out for him, and they couldn't just let the evidence tell the story. Now, I'm going to get off my soapbox because when it comes to sexual assaults, you have been conditioned to believe the victim, or you've been conditioned to not. I'm not sure. Whatever your upbringing, and there's so many things that could be behind that. I am conditioned to believe neither, actually, not the suspect or the victim. I have been mildly legally trained and extremely journalistically trained. And so for me personally, I don't believe anyone or anything. I think you're all full of fucking shit until I figure it out and see the facts and let them tell me what really happened. And that's just because that's how my brain is trained not to really trust anyone's bullshit and just get to the facts, right? So these are the facts. This alleged sexual assault took place in early 2017, according to the accuser. The Prescott attorneys filed a lawsuit in Collin County, north of Dallas, on Monday. And then the woman then, of course, accused him of sexual assault on Wednesday for a case near, I want to go 6 to 7, 8 years ago now. No, 6 years ago minimum, right? Yeah, we're in that 6-year minimum range, okay? Or 5, 6 year minute, 6 years, almost 7 years. Yeah. The reason why that's important is because we don't know what the statute of limitations on accusations like this where they're, listen, guys, I'm going to tell you the truth. This is going to turn into a he said, she said situation. I think that it's going to get very ugly. And here's why. So I have some genuine questions because I'm a human and also an investigative minded person. So I have some genuine questions. My first question is this one. If you were raped in 2017, then why are you just now going to the police? Because he won't pay you money. Okay. The woman, according to the Prescott lawsuit, the woman and her attorney wrote Prescott a letter in which they said that the woman wouldn't pursue charges or go public with her claims if Prescott paid her $100 million. Okay. He's in a contract year, FYI. Fun fact. An attorney representing Prescott met last week with the police in Prosper, Texas, and said that his client was possibly the victim of extortion. Then on Wednesday, of course, like I said, the woman filed a sexual assault claim. Prescott is countersuing the woman for $1 million in damages, which honestly, he don't need that million. That's going to go to his lawyers. That's probably just going to go to his lawyers. Actually, he may get that million plus lawyer fees because let's just say that accusation cases are worse than the cases that you try to accuse themselves. And the reason why is because so we cannot deny that accusation cases like what's going on with Dak Prescott, where there seems to be extortion behind it, or clearly there's extortion behind it. Now, the problem is that when you go for money, ladies, one, you diminish other women's claims. When you don't report it when it happens, you look like a liar later. You really do. And that doesn't mean you're a liar. See, that's the problem. This is where journalism comes into play. You do look like a liar, but I'm also a journalist, so that doesn't make you a liar. But it doesn't. Listen, you're
right, because
go ahead.
If she can bring the evidence, then so be it.
So be it.
But just to bring an accusation without something to back it up is BS.
And that's why, is because I'm not going to go out and ruin some kid's career, ruin some kid's reputation on a rumor. And that's because you're taught in journalism that that's defamation if you're wrong.
Oh, we know someone else that's dealing with that, don't we?
And a couple news outlets, more specifically. Well, anyway, get out of that stuff today. Do not try to goat me into that crap. I don't want to do it. I have a fun day planned with my fishing buddy after this. You dickweed. You're my weed buddy, and I'm gonna throw weed nuggets at you when I see you over this.
Right?
You'll probably
I'll smoke them.
I'm not, I'm like, you can dodge a weed nugget, you can dodge a ball. I'm not gonna throw a wrench at you though. I'm not a dick. So, and I'm also not violent. I'm actually a pacifist. So I don't believe in violence, but I'm also like, I took martial arts and boxing for a reason. As well as I always tell people, I'm like, I don't believe in violence.
No, Trey will just try to smoke you out and give you shrooms.
Try to smoke you out, give you shrooms, try to get you to lighten up a little bit. Obviously, if you're trying to fight me, your asshole is wound super tight because I'm fucking. I'm a great conversation holder, keeper, and person. I'm fucking funny, and I'll make you laugh even if I absolutely disagree with you on a topic, subject, or political point of view. I'll still make you laugh. I'm like, so if you want to punch me in the face or kick me in the nuts, I guarantee you there might be something wrong with you. Fun fact.
But yeah, I believe you're right. If you got assaulted 7 years ago, like, why didn't you just come out then? Like,
well, and then it comes into a couple of things. Like, is there extortion? Not is there. So here's my thing is, so 2017, to now, we're talking 6 full years, getting into the realm of 7 years, right? You're asking for $100 million. Okay. That number just, dude, that's like literally just a few $1,000,000 less than his contract was. Like he couldn't afford to pay you that.
Even if he wanted to.
No, after he paid like all his people, his federal taxes, he paid his lawyers, he paid this, he paid an agent. After he paid all those people, which by the way, they get their money before you do. Because that comes out of his contract money before he ever gets a paycheck. So that's what the agent is. He's like a middleman. Anyway, long story short, it really is just a middleman.
Yeah.
Like, used to go pick up your weed for you so you wouldn't go to jail for it. But if you were missing, a piece of a nuggie, you know why. There's risk. There's a risk tax. So anyway, yeah, I find it fascinating that you're trying to extort this guy for $100 million and he's going into a contract year. Okay. So you think he's going to make $200-300 million like these other guys? He's not, by the way. He can't get anywhere through the playoffs. So he's not.
Fun fact.
Let's get that out of the way. Let me rip off that Band-Aid if there's any Cowboys fans listening to this at some point. Let me just rip the Band-Aid off right now.
The Who Boy fans?
Right? Hey, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off one more time. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, though, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to choose to believe the victim nor Dak Prescott on the sexual assault.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And plays out just like I did with Deshaun Watson. Turned out he was a scumbag, and I'm okay with that. He's a scumbag. He's Uncle Touchy Nasty Boy, right? I get it. That's fine. In that case, you guys understand the fundamental difference of all those accusations. There were some extortion accusations in there, so I do believe that a few people might have caught wind of it and tried to extort him too, right? But also there were people that were just like, no, this is what the fuck happened. I don't want my name out there. I don't want money. I just don't want this guy to do this to anyone else. Right. And then you come over and you look at the Dak Prescott case. And like I said, I'm choosing not to believe a victim nor a suspect. You fool. I'm choosing not to believe a victim nor a suspect because sometimes victims become suspects and suspects become victims. Right. And in some of those cases, they become that way because of like something like this case with Dak Prescott. Is there a real sexual assault there, or is it extortion? I think the amount of money begs and screams the word extortion. Like, and all you have to do is screw somebody, literally physically, like fuck them, and then that could be a problem, right? Later on down the road. But Crazy lady says, "Hey, old man." Hi. You know I'm an old man, so that means you must know me.
But do you think they should be able to pay these ladies off? Or should it should go to court and be proven or not proven?
Yeah, I'm honestly, when it comes, listen, like I said, I refuse to get into the concept of taking the victim or the suspect side because, like I said, sometimes suspects become victims and victims become suspects in those cases, especially like extortion cases and so on and so forth, right? And so I choose not to believe anyone directly in that moment because, again, as a trained journalist and as somebody who's taken a few law classes on how things work in defamation, you kind of got to keep something like that to yourself unless you have physical evidence, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to believe anybody. I'm going to say this. Could Dak Prescott have sexually assaulted this young lady? Sure. Anything's possible. Is it, for me, as somebody who's got that mind for the sort of looking out for the shall I say it coldly, the fuck shit, I'm extremely suspicious. I mean, extremely suspicious of any person, okay, I'm gonna say it that way, who says they've been sexually assaulted, okay, then doesn't go to the police 6 years ago or now and goes to the police after a counter lawsuit is filed and charges are filed for you trying to extort somebody for $100 million. That is all extremely suspicious. And what makes me more angry than that is that that position disparages real women who have been sexually assaulted. It opens the door for questioning. Like I wish we lived in a world where all victims were really victims, right? Because then we could just listen to victims, believe victims, and trust victims, right? But unfortunately, then you look at this case with Dak Prescott and you go, I don't know if there even is a victim here unless it might be Dak Prescott. And ladies, I want to tell you, I used to profoundly believe the women with little regard at times for the other side. I'm not going to lie to you. And then I got trained as a journalist. And I was like, oh, these things, well, that's not true. I just learned very early on that people lie. People don't tell the truth about what happened. They exacerbate situations. This, honestly, this could be something where could Dak Prescott have sexually assaulted this woman? Sure, absolutely. And we cannot not say that.
She's crying wolf because she didn't get her money.
That is a question that we are wondering. Or so, and how about this? How about this? Remember what I told you, Chris, when we first met over a decade ago, right? Or
Yep.
over a decade. No, about a decade ago we met,
About
right?
a decade. 10 years ago.
Close to a decade either way. And we met and we started working together. And I told you, I said, you have a fundamental obligation to do the Peter Jennings look at a story. And what that is, folks, is Peter Jennings taught me as a journalist via some of his lectures and some of the things he said and the way he talked about journalism. Peter Jennings, by the way, Edward R. Murrow, some of my biggest heroes in journalism. Barbara Walters, fun fact, if anybody cares, is one of my journalism heroes. But anyway, Brian Gumbel, just a fun fact, because he did sports and news, so he's awesome. But anyway, I just find it profound that it's just the money thing, bro. Like, it's so hard to believe. I want to believe somebody who says they've been through something so horrific or terrifying as a sexual assault, right? Like, I want to
for sure.
I do. But you didn't go to the police immediately. You're going to the police after you were sued for trying to extort somebody. So I'm going to tell you something, Chris, that I will say this. I think that, now, I want to be clear. I don't have Dak Prescott money. I don't even have Dak Prescott's goddamn doorman money, okay? Let's be honest. I had 5 kids that paid child support and barely got by for like 2 decades until they all grew up, I promise you. So, thanks. You have to do the wind-up drum roll thing. That's a dick move, bro. You could have just checked. You could have just check marked, okay? Somebody fire the producer. No, don't. We need him. Anyway, good labor for cheap is hard to find. True story. No, I'm just playing. Anyway, so at the end of the day, though, I think we have to when money gets involved, right? That starts to really soften the tissue of an accusation. You understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
I mean, and again, back to the timeline. If I was a prosecutor, or not a prosecutor, rather, if I was Dak Prescott's attorneys, and whether this goes into a civil case for the extortion of her, extorting him, and or if district attorneys or prosecutors, like they said, they're investigating it. But you need to understand that if 6 years later, with no physical evidence and nothing to really corroborate what you're saying, and you can roll 100 people in there that say you said this 6 years ago, but you got to be able to prove that. It's not just enough to say that someone said that. I can line up 1,000 people that will go to court and lie for me. You need to prove that. Okay. I don't know if I can 1,000 people to go to court and lie for me. That's probably laughable. Okay. I mean, I probably couldn't get 5 people to lie for me because I wouldn't ask you to.
Right.
Do that. I just, I'm not. Now, listen, guys, I'm not a Boy Scout. I've been to the county pokey. I would say my family is full of cops and criminals. And then there's a few of us in the gray area between where we went to county, but not real jail.
Yeah.
So, I've made some mistakes. I got busted with some drugs you're not supposed to have. Back in the day, I had a drug problem. I went, I got help. I got better. But at the same time, I'm not a Boy Scout. But I do believe that there's certain things that, like if you told me to tell someone that you told me you were raped 6 years ago when it was maybe like 6 weeks ago, I'm not into that. I'm not the guy for that. And I think I've never been asked to do something like that because while I'm not a Boy Scout, I think everybody knows that I actually have a really good character and good morals, and I won't do it. Fuck off.
Right. Yeah.
Fuck off, mate, as we say overseas. I'm not doing it for you. So I just think that this is a tough one, man. I'm going to reserve judgment as I did in the Deshaun Watson situation because I don't think that we really know anything. But I'm seriously concerned that you like, oh my God, do you know how many rape victims are literally going to probably not be believed now?
Oh yeah. This could ultimately have big harm on other victims.
Okay, so this is the statement that now I'm going to leave this as an unknown source, and I'm not going to reveal who said this, but I'm going to say that that several people who know this story already have said that the money, asking for the money, and then going to the cops after you were after an investigation was opened into you for extorting NFL player, you went to the cops and filed sexual assault charges and tried to get charges filed and got an investigation opened. All of that just is really super sus to me. I don't know how many times I can say that repeatedly. And so this puts really genuinely good-hearted people like you and I, Chris, into a very extremely tough situation because we want to believe the victim and we want to believe that this horrific act that you're stating happened to you happened, right? Like, because why would you say that if it didn't? But we've seen people say that when it didn't, Chris. And that's problem for me lies, right? That's where the issue, that sort of, that's where the rubber meets the road, as they say. That's where, as Teddy Roosevelt said, the buck stops there, right there. Why the fuck are you asking for $100 million? I already am asking, why didn't you go to the police right away? Right away, because that is profoundly harder to object against when there's rape kits and all kinds of other stuff that would prove profoundly what you're saying was true, right? So there's that, right? Having some panties you've held on to 6 years trying to extort an NFL player, I'm just trying to use a weird example. That's not part of the case. Full disclosure here. I'm saying like some underwear with, maybe his stuff in it or your stuff and his stuff mixed in it. That's not going to do anything for me because he's already said that you had a consensual relationship type situation. So he's saying that y'all fuck. He's just saying that it was consensual, and that does beg the question. Then when a guy says, "Look, I did sleep with her," so first off, he's not even trying to deny he slept with her. One of the first telltale signs that I find with grown men is when they start to deny they even know the woman. That's a pretty big telltale sign for me personally, at least. But we don't see that here. We see quite the opposite. Is no, I did sleep with her like 6-7 years ago, and that's all it was. And I barely remember. And then I get this letter from her and her attorney saying, "You better fucking fork over $100 million or else." And I'm saying she's extorting me for a meal ticket.
Right, and it's usually denial right off Jump Street.
I cannot be profoundly open enough to say I am not believing her or him at this moment. Okay.
Yeah. No.
What I will tell you is the evidence points in a direction that is not very good for her. The evidence points in a direction that is very ugly for her. And if the accusation is true, you have, shall we say, diminished every bit of that accusation by one, coming out 6 years later, two, trying to extort him for $100 million when you should have just went to the police. And these are questions you're going to have to answer on the stand. And maybe you and your lawyer have worked out great answers for this. But the question becomes is, can you get a jury to buy it? Keeping in mind, you're going to have to face a jury of Dallas Cowboys fans in Texas. Good luck.
Right.
So, first off, you look sus as hell to begin with. I'm not going to lie. The jury would likely not be in a victim's favor as they largely are not in huge sports places like, let's just be honest, like Texas with the Cowboys, right? Especially North Texas in the Dallas area and so forth, right? Let's be honest here. Like, folks, you don't like, listen, it's an ugly sounding thing when I spit it out of my goddamn mouth. I get it. But we cannot deny that that's exactly the truth about what goes on here, right? It's Texas. They love their football team up there in North Texas and Dallas. So your accusations better be profound to convince a jury is all I'm really saying, right? And then to cap that off, your accusations need to be profound. They need to be honest. They need to be true. And then you have to answer some very, very, very complicated questions like, why did you go to the player first and try to get $100 million out of him? If there was a crime committed, you're supposed to go to the police. Stop there.
Absolutely.
Second issue, $100 million seems extremely excessive, even if you were trying to get paid and it is a real accusation and you just want it to all be quiet and kept quiet. And you're like, you're going to pay me to go away. But I'm going to tell you right now, extortion is, if he paid, I guarantee you they'd come back for more money later. I promise you. That's how extortion people work, dude. So,
Yep.
And then, like I said, you didn't even file any sexual assault charges until after his lawyers went to the police about you trying to extort him. So you have to answer those questions in front of a jury that may be a lot more friendly to a Dallas Cowboys fucking superstar, right? Their starting quarterback. Let's not deny what it is there too, right? And while I think that needs, listen, I wish the court of law worked fair, but it doesn't. And those are things that this young lady is going to have to answer.
Yes, absolutely. Every question. I mean, we just put it through court here.
Yeah, right here on the on Tre's court, and the honorable. I grew up down south, y'all. So I do a real southern, bigoted southern judge well for being a darker complected, individual. Anyway, that's because I'm a goddamn comedian. Fuck everybody. Anyway, so. The reality though is we put her on trial here. We put the whole case on trial here, and we said, Dak, is he denying ever knowing this woman, sleeping with this woman, anything like that? Quite the contrary. No. He's actually saying, no, I slept with her, but it ain't what the fuck she said. This lady crazy.
Yeah.
The questions we want answered, I think, would be fair for any jury, and honestly would be dereliction of any jury to not want these questions answered, and also a defense attorney. Why you didn't go to the police 6 years ago? Why even when you brought it to anyone, you didn't go to the police, but yet rather you said, give me all this money or I'm calling the cops on you. Okay. That in itself is a crime, by the way. That's extortion. That in itself is a crime. Remember when we talked about suspects become victims and victims become suspects? Because that is a crime. You cannot just do that. I think y'all watched too many Trump and Stormy Daniels hush money cases.
See, you went there. I didn't think you were going to go there.
It's on trial because you can't do that. You can't pay hush money. Even if there was a crime committed or not, you can't pay hush money because that in itself is the crime.
I figured you were going to go there, but I didn't know.
Because the breaking of the law is fascinating to me, but it's also frustrating to me because I understand the laws and I understand the laws. And then when the two contradict each other, it pisses me off. And you know this. And this is why I can't be a lawyer, because lawyering pisses me off. That's why I do radioing, because radioing, I can be pissed off and I don't have judicial prudence as a lawyer to act accordingly with the law. Let me ask what I'm really saying.
We can blow a little steam off and go about our day.
All right. So at the end of the day, though, I will be very interested to see where this case goes. Like I said, those questions need to be answered. I'm extremely concerned of the way it played out. And I just find that very upsetting because you can literally let's take another NFL starting quarterback from Texas. It's getting a little duplicatable down in Houston, who there were multiple victims. We have a pattern of behavior that becomes uncovered through a grand jury, or through a grand jury investigation. Now, the grand jury chose not to indict because it's a lot of he said, she said, which this could be what this case really comes down to. But this is where it gets interesting. Imagine that. This case goes in front of a grand jury and they go, this is a lot of he said, she said. It was 6-7 years ago. There's just not enough evidence here. I mean, it may go to a prosecutor and the prosecutor may go, I can't even put this in front of a grand jury because it's he said, she said. There's no fucking evidence here behind this.
Right.
Now, we don't know that yet, but I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, 6 years later, 7 years later, not really feeling like there's going to be a whole lot of physical evidence, if any at all. And it's all going to be hearsay, he said, she said shit. And that's some of the easiest circumstantial bullshit that you can fucking go around and defend against. It's easy as fuck to defend against circumstantial he said, she said bullshit. So the reality is most district attorneys are going to go, I ain't taking this case to the court because it's not worth it. They'll put it in front of a grand jury, though, and let the grand jury throw it down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
At the end of the day, I'll be very interested to see how this goes because here's the other part of this. So when she and her lawyer sent Dak Prescott a letter demanding $100 million to keep quiet about an alleged rape from 6 years ago, right? You ready for this part? This is where it gets real saucy. So remember, extortion is illegal. So whether Dak committed a crime or not prior to that, the extorting of him is still illegal. You understand? So hypotheticals. A district attorney or a prosecutor decides not to take up the case, right? Hypothetically speaking, a prosecutor decides not to take up the case, okay? Or they do, but then the grand jury throws it out, right? As now there's just not enough here. We can't take this to a trial. You'll lose, or whatever, right? It doesn't make it to a stage of selecting jurors and going to a trial, right? Because it's he said, she said, hearsay, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you extorted him isn't going away. That's a letter you sent to him and his attorney or whatever, or your attorney sent to him. There's a paper trail. There's physical evidence that you tried to extort Dak Prescott in this situation. There is a timeline of the extortion. There's a timeline. So if her case would be thrown out, so it's like, oh, okay, so nothing's going to happen to him. Case thrown out. You're still going to jail. Check this out. Hypothetical. They decide to take up the case and it goes to trial. Your case is still going to trial because I know that there is physical evidence and a pattern of an attempted extortion. Clear as day with what's been presented already to the public, dog. You would have something that proves that it's not extortion that could be presented in court. And I'm sure if there is, they're not going to put that out in public, obviously. But yeah, and I'm just going to say in the court of public opinion, to quote Shakespeare, something stinks in the state of Denmark or something.
The state of Dallas.
There's a stench in the state of Denmark or whatever that damn Shakespeare quote is. I fucked it up. I know I did. But yeah, it's just something's off here, bro. I'm not into the disbelief game, but something is absolutely off here. Parting thoughts, my friend, before we get out of here for the day.
Shall we find out if he's guilty or if she's guilty?
Also, keep in mind, the Peter Jennings walk around the table and look at it from everybody's perspective could both be true. Both be guilty.
Yeah.
Be true in this situation. There could be something where Dak Prescott did something wrong, and then still the extortion is a crime. Outside of that, my parting thoughts are, I just want to give a shout out one more time to Princeton College. I believe it was the Roosevelt dorm security guard who is a Nigerian immigrant who is an American national now, but his family is from Nigeria, and he largely works his butt off as the dorm security. And we talked about this at the beginning of the show. If you weren't here, I just want to fill you in. He largely does the security for the Roosevelt dorm room. If I'm messing up the dorm name, I'm sorry. I love you, but I'm pretty sure it was Roosevelt. With that said, though, he is just a great, loving character in the everyday lives of these college students, and also make sure, of course, obviously, that they're getting to their room safe, and that, obviously the wrong people aren't getting in the building, and so on and so forth, and doing his due diligence. But within that work, he can't afford to travel back to Nigeria. So the students of Princeton College in that dorm they set out to raise $3,500 to get him plane tickets round trip home and back. Turned out they were able to exceed that goal, not only send him to Nigeria, but send him to Nigeria with a little money to have some fun with his family. And those are the stories that, guys, when we get into some pretty deep shit here, let's be honest, the shit got deep today because we don't know what's going on down in Dallas, but it's some deep shit, and you better get your goddamn cowboy boots on, son. All right, you hear now? But out here in the other worlds, there's some great stuff going on, and I just thought that was just, honestly, I don't like try to bogart and bring an extra headline. But that story just touched my heart, Chris, and I just wanted to follow, get away from kind of this whole ugly situation that was what we did cover to end the show, and just bring it back to that really great story about Princeton College. That's my closing statement, Chris.
Oh yeah, that's huge, man. That's a great thing they did for sure.
All right, let's get out of here, bro. You have a wonderful day.
You as well.
And of course, guys, stick with us through the end of the month, and then we go on a 2-3 week break, and then after that we are back for season 9 of Wake and Bake America. That's right, guys. We have been at this for so long, and it's been so much fun to have all of you part of it. We really started the whole project back in 2015, so this is our 10th year. But season 9 for the Wake and Bake America show, because some stuff happened. We took it to a new station. There was a revamp. I built 2 radio stations that were all about weed. Now you know about me. There's my resume. You don't really need it.
Yeah.
Hey, what's happening? What's happening? It's your boy Bubba Sparks. If you didn't know prior to this moment, you better know for sure. Anytime I'm rolling through Colorado Springs, I'm checking out Wake and Bake America. How could you not be listening to Wake and Bake? Holding it down with Cammy, Renee, and MistaTre all the way. Twice on Sunday. Y'all probably ain't on Sunday, but it's all good. y'all should be.
Copy written, so don't copy me.